Hey, good morning. I'm Jim Peters, co-chair of the USNH Worship Committee, and it is my joy to welcome one and all to this online service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. We are a community united by a shared commitment to open dialogue based on principles of mutual respect and the inherent dignity of all human beings. We believe Black lives matter, and we know that there cannot truly be justice for any of us until there is justice for all of us. If you are new to this community, we welcome you sincerely and hope you will get to know us better. Each Sunday after the service, there is a Zoom gathering led by the membership team whose email address is on the screen. If you write to that address, you'll get the link to the meeting. You can also visit our website, usnh.org, to learn more about us. Please do. Also, after the service, for those participating via Zoom, all are invited to breakout rooms for some shared social time. I'm very pleased to announce that this week we will be welcoming new members into our community at a ceremony just a bit later on in this service. It's a welcome reminder that while we are gathering remotely these days, it's our life as a community that continues to flourish. Finally, on Saturday, May 29th at 3:00 p.m., Reverends Linda Susan and Jesse Greist will be offering a blessing of the animals in the USNH parking lot. All are welcome to bring pets, pictures of pets, and even memories of special animals to receive this blessing. Maddie Stover will also be collecting pet supplies for the New Haven Animal Shelter at this event. Yes, you guys can come too. Yes, you may. Our call to worship is written by the Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather as a house of stories. As we learn of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes more clear. As we weave together the tales of who we are, our loneliness lessens, and the web of our oneness is revealed. As we listen deeply in those times of tender trust, we descend into the longings and learnings, hopes and fears of the humanity we share. Beneath the wells from which we drink, there is a deeper well that feeds them all. Come, let us tell each other tales of our thirst. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. And come, let us worship together. Friends, we light this chalice flame, holding the truth that we are bound together by the stories we tell and by the stories we are told. Let this light remind us to look for that connection, the ties between my particulars and our universals, that we may discover a wholeness greater than the sum of our collected stories. That well which feeds us all. Let this kindled chalice light, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, find us and warm us and connect us all one to another. May it be so.
Let this be our house, a On a hot summer's day, a child went out into the grass of a beautiful big meadow and began searching for things to occupy their mind. The child saw beautiful flowers, birds, butterflies, bees, and was fascinated by all the abundance of life. Then the child saw one of their favorite things, a dandelion gone to seed. The child knew that if you picked a dandelion, closed your eyes, and made a wish, you could then blow those seeds and they would carry your wish away. So the child prepared and thought, what is my wish? And just as they were about to blow those seeds away, a mosquito landed right on the child's arm and began to bite. The child said, I know what I'm going to wish for. I wish that all mosquitoes in the world would just disappear, would just go away. That is my wish. Wait, came a voice from nearby. The child looked around and saw that there was a bat on a nearby tree, and the bat was holding something. The bat said, please, don't make that wish. If you make that wish, you might break the interconnected cloth of life. And the child said, how could I possibly do that if I just remove one strand from it? The bat said, well, it may seem like you're just removing one strand, but think for a moment. If you take away the mosquitoes, all of my friends might go away as well, because we need those mosquitoes to survive. And that will begin to leave a hole in the interconnected cloth. And then a voice came from nearby and said, the bat is right. We also need mosquitoes. And there were birds there that said, if we don't have mosquitoes, we too will go away, and there will be an even bigger hole in the interconnected cloth of life. And then another voice came and said, yes, we, the fishes, depend on the mosquitoes, because when they're larvae, they do two wonderful things for us. They provide us with food, and they also eat the algae that can choke up our pond. So if you remove that, you might also do away with the fish. And you could also do away with so many of the plants that are in the pond. The child began to see that just by removing one small thread from the interconnected web of existence, there might be literally tens or hundreds or even thousands of repercussions. It continued. Other animals came out. There were frogs who said, if you remove the mosquitoes, we won't be around. There were big cats, bobcats, who said, without the bats and the birds and the fishes around, we might lose our livelihood too, and you might see us go away. And it continued. And bit by bit, the child imagined with each new creature that came out and said, without mosquitoes in the world, we would disappear as well. And before you knew it, the entire interconnected cloth of existence was beginning to fall apart. So the child said, okay, I will not wish for mosquitoes to go away. I wish that all of the strands, the interconnected strands, remain as they are. And so the child picked up that dandelion, closed their eyes, and wished, I wish for life and abundance and happiness for all in the interconnected web, including mosquitoes. Blessed be.
We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Whitson, and I am a member of the Pastoral Care Team. In this spiritual community, we remind ourselves each week that joy and sorrow are woven fine. Some of us bear burdens made lighter, as others help us carry them. And some of us hold joys that shine more brightly, as others share our delight. Sadly, Jane Platt has informed us that her brother, John Hitchcock, died on May 8th in Lebanon, New Hampshire. He had diabetes and heart disease for a number of years. John had been a member of USNH Sunday School and LRY before he moved to Vermont. Please keep Jane and her brother and their family in your thoughts.
So the early part of May is peak migration season for any number of bird species who overwinter in the deep south or Mexico and who are passing through on their way to breeding grounds further north. My wife and I have been getting up early and going down to the Eli Whitney Museum, which abuts East Rock Park, with our binoculars and our hopes to spy some cute warbler or noisy woodpecker or just anything we hadn't seen before or lately. For me, birding is mostly about holding a quiet space and actively listening. You can't control when or if a bird comes into your field of view, but if you can just embrace the waiting and the morning sunlight filtering through the canopies and the diversity of bird songs surrounding you, it can be magical. So this morning, I invite you to imagine yourself high up a tree in the middle of a long journey. You've found a pleasant bit of cliff face and river and old growth forest, and you are surrounded by fellow travelers. There is only the sun to warm you, the wind to ride, and your innate awareness of location to lead you onward. But the longer journey will have to wait until tomorrow. Today, there are insects to chase, worms to uproot, neighbors to share a song with. So just be here now, friends. Connect with the space surrounding you. Breathe the air. Stretch out your wings, and only when you are ready, fly.
What are your wishes for this congregation? If you had that dandelion in front of you and could ask the universe for something on behalf of USNH, what would it be? Maybe you'd ask that our social justice programs would be wildly successful. Or maybe you'd want to strengthen connections among community members. Maybe you'd fix up the building and expand the pollinator garden so that our physical home was as beautiful and accessible as possible. Can I tell you a secret? We don't need a dandelion to make all of that happen. What we need is each other. When we all give of our time and our skills, and yes, our money, we can turn wishes into reality. It's not magic. It's collective action, which only looks like magic. Please take a moment right now to give as generously as you can by going to usnh.org and clicking on Donations. Or you can send a check to USNH, 700 Hartford Turnpike, Hamden, Connecticut, 06517. Thank you for all the ways that you make wishes come true.
Today's reading is taken from the book of essays Blue Pastures by Mary Oliver. Life is Niagara or nothing. I would not be the overlord of a single blade of grass that I might be its sister. I put my face close to the lily where it stands just above the grass and give it a good greeting from the stem of my heart. We live, I am sure of this, in the same country, in the same household, and our burning comes from the same lamp. We are all wild, valorous, amazing. We are none of us cute.
I'll keep a little tavern below the high hill's crest, wherein all gray-eyed people may set them down and rest. There shall be plains aplenty and woods to melt the chill of all the gray-eyed people who happen up the hill.
Do you know the story of the woman who came unraveled? She thought she could do everything by herself. She'd always been the strongest person her age and learned things quickly. And while she acknowledged that children, by necessity, depend on their families, as an adult, she valued independence above everything else. When people pointed out that others had grown her food or built her home, she'd do these things just to prove that she could. She was fiercely independent and well respected, but she didn't share a lot of warmth with people. One afternoon, she decided to take the ferry up the coast to a nearby town. Sometimes it was convenient to throw her lot in with others, and on this bright fall day, she wanted to concentrate on the trees' colorful splendor instead of navigation, especially because some rain was expected further north. Once at sea, she mostly kept to herself, taking in the salty air and savoring the bread she'd made that morning. The deck cleared as the rain started and the seas became more choppy, but she just turned up her collar. She enjoyed watching the ship cut through the green water. Suddenly, there was a voice behind her. "Why don't you come inside and join us for a cup of coffee, dear?" She turned to see an old woman wearing a blue dress the color of the night sky. Her silver hair was swept up and away from her wrinkled face. "It's getting cold out here." The young woman furrowed her brow at the interruption. She had no interest in chit-chatting with a stranger. "No, thank you," she replied and turned back to the water. The old woman gave a small smile. "I was like you when I was young, intent on a life on my own terms, not wanting to depend on anyone for anything. But we all need each other, my dear." Just as the young woman was about to tell the old woman to mind her own business, the ship lurched with a horrible shriek of metal. In the stormy weather, the ferry had hit a rock. Above the blaring of alarms and the commotion of people running around, they heard a distant call of, "Abandon ship! Abandon ship!" The young woman scanned the horizon and realized the shore wasn't too far away. There was a tall tree that she could use to guide her. She thought, "If I can make it to the forest, I'll be safe." Others were already in the water, slowly making their way toward land. As the young woman prepared to head off, the old wise woman handed her a spool of twine. "My dear, this is very special twine that measures the length of one's days. You can see that some of it has already been let out. Use it wisely, and it will help you survive." The young woman was annoyed by the delay, but thought it might be useful later, so grabbed the twine from the wise woman's hands, looped it around her waist, and took off into the water. The young woman was a strong swimmer, and the rain had let up, but the sea was still rocked by the storm. Soon she was making her way to shore. She passed others along the way who were struggling to keep moving, but she thought, I can't worry about them. I have to get to safety. Let them take care of themselves." Finally, after navigating her way towards the tall tree and fighting a riptide, she dragged herself up on the sand, triumphant. She was the only one there. "I knew I could make it. I don't understand why the others can't do the same." But as she looked back out at the water and at the other passengers struggling to get ashore, she noticed something she hadn't seen while swimming in the rough waters. Her twine had come untucked and now stretched far into the water. She tried tugging on it, but the spool was caught. She tried jiggling the twine this way, flicking it that way, but she couldn't dislodge it. She pulled hard, but the spool stayed in place while the thread unfurled. And a strange thing happened. As the twine unraveled, she found herself suddenly fatigued. I guess that swim took more out of me than I'd thought. When she pulled again and another length came into her hands, she saw that the skin on her knuckles start to form wrinkles. That's just some trick of the light after being in the ocean for so long. With the third pull, she noticed that the hair falling in front of her eyes had suddenly turned gray. And that's when, for the first time in her life, she got scared. What had that old woman said? This is very special twine that measures the lengths of one's days. She realized that the woman had handed her a lifeline, her own lifeline. She knew that what was on the spool constituted all the time that remained. If she kept trying to dislodge it as she'd been doing, she'd unwind all the time that she had left. But she also couldn't re-enter the ocean, which had taken so much to survive the first time. And cutting the twine would only cut her life short then and there. Then she noticed the other people in the water and how they were struggling to come to shore where she already stood safely. And she had an idea. She called to the nearest one, "Excuse me, do you see that twine there? I'm going to tie it to this tree. Grab hold of it and it will guide you to safety. Please pass the word back and ask the last person to hold tightly to the spool as they come in." And so the person nearby found the twine in the water and told the next person, who told the next person, and so on. Word spread all the way back until the last passenger found the spool, freed it from the rock, and brought it all the way to land. Now the young woman went about helping each person make their shivering way out of the water. As more of them came and they could help the next person in, she ran up to the tree line and gathered branches for a fire, which she quickly built. In all the activity to make sure people got safely to shore, she stopped thinking about the twine. Her only concerns were keeping the fire lit and searching among the pines for signs of fresh water. Eventually, the last passenger came ashore, exhausted, but carrying the spool. When the person handed it to the young woman, she was overwhelmed by relief and joy, and her heart broke wide open. She searched the faces in the crowd, but her relief quickly turned to worry. "Where's the old woman?" she asked the other passengers. She was wearing a blue dress, the color of the night sky, and had silver hair swept up away from her wrinkled face. You couldn't have missed her." But no one had seen anyone like that on the boat before the accident. She wasn't sure what to make of the old woman's disappearance, but she carefully looped the twine around her hand and held tightly to the spool. And as she sat down next to one of the other people there on shore, she did something she'd never done before. "Hi there. My name is Alina. Do you need anything? How can I help you?" You and I, we save each other. The work of one person's hands threads through the fingers of 1,000 others. We depend on each other. We lean on each other. We need each other to survive. We are each other's lifeline, finding our way to the shore when seas are stormy, and when the world seems to unravel, we hold tight to each other and find a way back. Amen, and blessed be.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall.
Friends, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, we have been living in a world that came unraveled over a year ago. But we've found ways to hold tightly to each other, even amid stormy seas. We have been each other's lifeline in a time of great uncertainty. May it ever be so, even once we're safely back on shore. So go forth then, with courage and with kindness, and be a blessing to the world. Amen.